Hey, everybody. Welcome to a very special edition of the EP Fan Zone podcast, the podcast that is by, for, and about Elvis fans. My name's Kevin Booth, and I'm here with my daughter,
Abby.
Abby, here tonight. And we decided we wanted to record a special episode about a subject that's important to both of us, and to a lot of Elvis fans too. And that is the Elvis movie from 2022, Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, starring Austin Butler as Elvis. Everybody in Elvis fandom knows about the movie, but this movie caused a uproar at the same time in the Elvis community. For the most part, I believe it was well received, and most people loved it. But there are some diehards that absolutely hated it because it wasn't historically accurate and for many different reasons. And it caused kind of a generational divide when the movie came out, because it did, whether people like it or not, it did bring a whole new, young generation of Elvis fans to Elvis. A lot of people don't want to hear this, but at the time before the movie came out, Elvis was starting to take a little bit of a dive as far as social media goes, as far as his presence on TV and radio goes, and streaming and all of that kind of stuff. The numbers were actually going down. I know people don't want to believe this, but it's just true. Numbers were going down at Graceland. All kinds of different things were happening before this movie came out. And Baz Luhrmann said himself, before the movie came out in an interview, he said that this movie really isn't made for the diehard Elvis fan.
Mm-hmm.
That this movie was made for basically the general public to come in and get to know who Elvis was. And then once they leave the theater, to go engage on social media, to go do your own research and to find out who Elvis really was and what Elvis was really about. This movie was just to give Elvis a new boost to the new generation. Right, Abby?
Yeah.
And I guess that kind of happened for you, right?
Yeah, I was one of the people who became more interested in Elvis because of the movie.
Right. And today we want to talk honestly about what that movie did, what it didn't do, and why the conversation around it still matters. So, Abby, you went through a thing. We're not going to bring up names and all that kind of stuff. We never do. But you went through a thing with a very solid Elvis, kind of a famous person in the Elvis community.
Happened twice.
Can you tell our listeners a little bit about what happened? Don't bring up their name, but go ahead and kind of tell the story about how that happened.
So this person posted on Facebook about how bad the Elvis movie was and how historically inaccurate it was and how it did like nothing for the Elvis world or something like that. And I was only 12 at the time, like just turned 12. And I started throwing statistics at him, like streaming numbers and the amount of fan accounts that were made on Instagram and TikTok, and how my following went up a whole bunch after the movie, and he just would not take it. And then he ended up blocking me.
He ended up blocking a 12-year-old girl, and from what I remember, because I was watching this from the outside looking in and monitoring it, and matter of fact, he ended up blocking me because I defended you. But Abby sent him nothing but statistics that were readily available on the internet that you could find yourself. So, Abby, you were kind of a brand new fan at the time.
Yeah.
And what did it feel like to hear a fan from the older generation dismiss the movie and dismiss what you told them about it?
It sucked because the movie did so much for Elvis and to bring the younger generation to him. And I mean, and not only does, I mean, it's not even just that person. It's so many other people in the Elvis world. They just bring us down and they tear us down. And they'll go as far as just bringing you down in random, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, they'll just point out bad things about you or random things just to tear you down. It's so stupid.
And obviously his criticism, it didn't match what you were actually seeing among your peers because
Right.
you were making new friends in the Elvis world, and you were seeing it with your own eyes that this movie brought a new generation to Elvis. And what do you think it was about the movie that did that? Um, what,
Definitely Austin. I mean, everyone was hooked to Austin. And then the casting was amazing. You had Austin Butler as Elvis. You had Tom Hanks as Colonel Tom Parker. Um, Olivia DeJonge as Priscilla. Who else was in it? There was a whole bunch of
a great
oh,
cast.
Dacre Montgomery from Stranger Things played Steve Binder. It was just great casting with everybody. And then the soundtrack, you had Eminem, Doja Cat, Maneskin, however you say their name. It's so many people.
Now, Austin obviously had a history with the younger crowd because I guess he was
Yeah, he was on Disney.
on
So
Disney.
he was on like iCarly and made a whole bunch of he was I'd have to go find the shows. I forgot what all he
But a
was
lot
in.
of shows that teenagers would have watched and knew him from. And so it wasn't an accident that Baz picked him. He picked him obviously because of his talent.
Right.
But it had to go into Baz's thinking that this is a kid, a young man that teenagers know.
Mhm.
So you pulled up some other things
Yeah,
there.
he played in The Carrie Diaries, which was a pretty big show in the early 2010s. He played in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, worked with Kurt Russell and Quentin Tarantino. So he's played in some pretty big things, but he was always like a side character.
Yeah. But he was somebody that, like I just said, the Baz didn't pick by accident. I think he was talented. He was musical. Um, it was his version of Unchained Melody, I believe, that won Baz over.
Mhm.
But it had to go into Baz Luhrmann's thinking that here's a guy that kids know. And even if they're not Elvis fans, they're probably going to come to see this movie just because Austin Butler is in it.
Right. Like I never knew Austin before it, but I had seen him in an episode of iCarly.
Right. So you knew who he was.
Yeah.
Um, and the other thing you mentioned about um, a lot of the music. Now, that was a big criticism from the older generation.
Mhm.
The fact that Doja Cat was playing in the background and Eminem and all of that kind of stuff. Now, did that affect the movie at all to you when you were watching it, or did it make you enjoy it more that that stuff was in there?
Yeah, I think so. I guess I can see why or not the older generation was kind of mad about it because Doja did start rapping in the beginning and it was kind of random. I liked it because that's the kind of music that I kind of grew up on other than Elvis. So I can see why they wouldn't like it, but like Baz said, it's not for the diehard Elvis fans or really for the older generation. It was to bring Elvis to the younger generation, so he had to do stuff like that.
Yeah, and he made it not only that, but it was colorful. The other thing is, a lot of people said it moved so fast. But I think again, I think that was on purpose
Oh, and
because
Stevie Nicks
Stevie Nicks, right?
was in the
That's right. She's
soundtrack.
yeah, that's right. That's right. You were absolutely right. The movie moved quick because we are living in the social media age, where TikTok, the videos are very short. Instagram videos are very short. This movie was just short of 3 hours long. And Baz understood that if he wanted to attract this young generation, he had to keep things moving.
I used to not be able to go to the theaters and watch a movie without looking at my phone. I don't think I tore my eyes away from that movie when I first saw it because there's so much happening. Like you have to watch it or you're gonna miss something important.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And once you got into it, it kind of slowed down after 68. The movie did kind of slow down after that. But he got a lot of information out very, very quickly.
Right.
Um, so it wasn't historically accurate.
No.
There's a lot of things we could probably point out. Um,
Like, one of the first things that come to my mind, Elvis didn't perform Trouble at the
The Russwood Park
Westwood
show.
Park.
Yeah, absolutely not. But again, that was Baz trying to make a point. Just a week or a few days before the show at Russwood Park, Elvis was on the Steve Allen show, and they put him in a tuxedo and made him sing to a hound dog and wouldn't allow him to move. And the Rushwood Park show, I believe, was a day or two later. And Elvis did purposely come out to that show and say, "You're going to see." He did actually say, "You're going to see the real Elvis Presley tonight." And he, from what I understand, put on a very aggressive.
Let me tell you, in 2022, Trouble was probably Elvis's most popular song.
No doubt about
It
it.
blew up everywhere.
So that was artistic from Baz trying to make the point.
And then, Elvis firing Colonel on stage, that didn't happen. It
Yeah, that
happened in a
didn't happen.
hotel room.
Yeah, and obviously Elvis and Colonel didn't make the deal on a
Ferris wheel.
Ferris wheel. So a lot of artistic levels were taken by Baz to tell this story, but we kind of knew that coming in, and you'd be hard pressed to find any biopic about any artist
Mhm.
that is historically accurate, because you're trying to tell a story and you're trying to hold an audience at the same time. And so, I mean, I think the more I watched it, the more of those things stood out, the things that were historically accurate. But it didn't take away from my enjoyment of the movie, especially the way the movie wrapped up, and it was just it was powerful.
Mhm.
And Austin's performance was just stellar. He really captured you. He captured Elvis. I mean, even Lisa Marie said that she felt for the very first time that she really saw her dad well portrayed on the screen.
Right.
And his family, Elvis's family, praised his performance.
Now what really makes me mad is still to this day, I literally saw it the other day. Still to this day, almost 3 years since the movie came out, they are still picking at Austin about his voice, saying that he's still trying to be Elvis and he can't get rid of the Elvis voice and he wants to be Elvis. It's so stupid. Listen, he played that man and did method acting for 3 years,
Yes, he did.
trying to sound as much as he could like Elvis. They were in lockdown for I think a year and a half where they weren't able to record, and Austin was stuck in Australia. So he said that he put Elvis pictures all over his room, and he read books and he watched movies and he watched the performances, and he literally talked like Elvis
Yeah, he told a
so that he
story
could
where he
get the
was
voice down.
he was he told a story where he was jogging down the beach in Australia, and he had literally had Elvis laughing
Mhm.
in his
I
headphones,
forgot about that.
and that he was going down the beach laughing, trying to laugh like Elvis. That's how deep he went. He even wanted to capture the laugh. He wanted to capture everything. He wasn't impersonating, because you never felt that way when you were watching a movie, but he just captured him.
Elvis and Austin have a lot in common, which is what really got Austin the role. Austin and Elvis's mothers both died at the age of 23 or when they were
Right.
23. Uh and Austin said he woke up from a nightmare from about his mother dying, and he went out to his piano. He was in his robe. He set up his camera and he started playing Unchained Melody and started singing it and playing on the piano, and that's what got him the role.
Yeah, that's what did it. It wasn't really so much as acting as it was that performance. Hopefully, maybe one of these days we'll see that.
I'd love to see it.
That would be totally amazing. Well, let's go on to something else, because the major crux of your disagreement with this um, Elvis person in the Elvis world was that the movie did a lot for Elvis,
Mhm.
not only bringing younger fans, but getting him out there. And let's read off a few things. The film's release triggered an immediate and sustained increase in digital presence for Elvis and his music. Let's go a few things. Total streams by July 2025. Elvis officially surpassed 10 billion streams on Spotify. Shortly after the movie's 22 release, his Spotify monthly listeners jumped by 3 million. By late 2024, this number grew to over 25 million monthly listeners, outperforming many modern artists and legendary peers like the Beatles. The film's soundtrack used a modern a strategy like we talked about earlier, of blending original Elvis recordings with contemporary stars like Doja Cat, Eminem, and many others, and that definitely bridged the gap for younger listeners.
Mhm.
In 2022 alone, Elvis received over 1 billion streams on Spotify, a milestone that was highlighted in Spotify's Spotify Wrapped at the end of that year. Baz intentionally designed the film to reframe Elvis as a cultural agitator and a rebel rather than a historical caricature, and he definitely did that.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
He definitely brought out the fact that Elvis challenged the society back then. He challenged the social norms back then, and I love how the fact that Baz brought it out that Elvis was definitely a big part of breaking down the racial barriers that were going on in the 1950s. Don't you think so?
Yeah.
And you've been diving into that quite a bit lately.
I get in a lot of fights with people about it.
And that's another one of the stigmas that Baz was trying to get rid of, was this stigma that Elvis was somehow a quote, quote, racist. And Baz really tried to bring that out, about how much Elvis loved and appreciated his black musician peers from back in that day.
Who was it that said that they couldn't get their face on an album until Elvis
James
started?
Brown.
James Brown.
James Brown said that
He couldn't get white people to listen to his music.
couldn't get white people to listen to his music, and that he couldn't get his face on the cover of his records back then. And he credited Elvis with breaking those walls down. So, and this also had younger viewers. It says that the younger viewers reported discovering classic songs like Suspicious Minds with fresh ears and viewed them as modern inspirations rather than just oldies but goodies. And they even took some Elvis songs and juiced them up with different arrangements and stuff like that. And do you really think that, after the movie was over, did young people go to the original and fall in love with the original?
Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah. Because, I mean, they obviously went to Spotify and they started listening to his actual albums and his actual music. So, yeah, especially with like Polk Salad, because they made a remix of that, Polk Salad and Suspicious Minds. Suspicious Minds got big again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they definitely went and listened to the original stuff.
And obviously now we're seeing, and I don't know how the disagreeers will dismiss this, because it's impossible to dismiss it. But because of the success of that movie, we've got Epic.
Mm-hmm.
We would not have Epic if it wasn't for the Elvis.
They just always find stuff to complain about, because they're complaining that, oh, we saw this footage, we've already seen that footage. And I think I talked about this in another episode, that half of the stuff that we're going to see in this movie looked like it was filmed on a baked potato.
Right. Yeah.
It was horrible. It sounds horrible, but we're going to see. I don't care if we got like 50 seconds of new footage. I'd be happy.
I think we're going to see a lot more than that. I really do.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot of things we
I
haven't
actually
seen.
got confirmation from somebody who saw it that said that there's a lot of 72 footage in it.
That makes me happy, because I've been waiting for the 72 footage for many, many years. A lot of us Elvis fans have. And not only that, we're getting the new movie, we're getting Epic, and no matter what the deniers or the naysayers try to say, we would not have Epic if it wasn't for the Elvis movie starring Austin Butler. But social media engagement remains high into 2026. Fans regularly sharing their content under hashtags like hashtag Elvis Presley and hashtag Epic Movie, and hashtag Elvis and stuff like that, to celebrate his ongoing influence. How much has things changed, Abby, on TikTok and stuff since the movie came out. Kinda talk about that a little bit because you're
Um,
a lot more into that than I am.
yeah, like I said in another episode, when I made a fan page, there was me and one other Elvis fan page called Elvis Presley X. They're still on there. They post every once in a while. Um, I expected to maybe get like 100 followers if I was lucky, and now I just hit 10,000. It's There are so many accounts on Instagram and on TikTok. Twitter blew up with Elvis fans.
Wow.
We like took over. It was crazy. And every hate video that you see on TikTok or Instagram, the Elvis fans are going at it in the comments.
And that's a lot of young Elvis fans that are defending him.
And usually we'll share it to other Elvis fans and be like, Help, say something."
So it's safe to say, and I wanna say this before we go on any further, we might have listeners out there that hated the movie, and that's fine. That's your right to hate the movie. And we know that you didn't like the historical inaccuracies and some of the new music,
But you can't deny what it did.
but it definitely did what it did. And I want to say this. I think that your upset and your anger and things like that is coming from a place of love because you love Elvis and you want to protect his influence and stuff like that. So we get it. You know, we see things that we hate because we love Elvis, and we go out there and we try to defend it and correct it. Especially with AI and these stupid pictures that are coming out now, and stupid videos that are coming out now. And there's people out there that don't know Elvis that buy this stuff and think it's real.
Mhm.
And so we're doing a lot right now. I mean, I think just about every day I engage with some kind of fake picture, fake story, fake video, telling people this is not. They're even taking pictures of Elvis where he looked bad in the '70s and the and making him look worse.
Yeah, I just saw a photo. It looks like he's sitting backstage, he's holding a cup of water. I think it's a remake of that photo from Baltimore
Yeah, from
in
Baltimore.
'77, and he's got like a black eye,
Yeah, they
and
made.
people think it's real.
Yeah,
It's made its way to Pinterest, so I'm seeing it when I'm just looking at Elvis photos. It's so stupid.
so we get it, because we're immediately offended by that stuff, and we try to tell people this is not real. Um,
But what I don't get is some of them, and there's an author from an Elvis book, and they made a video and they just tore us down.
Now, when you
I
say us,
don't
you're talking about young fans,
Yes. They I don't remember what they said, but it was hurtful, and they just don't like us.
and
I
that's
don't know why. I would say we are exactly like the fans in the '50s, just modernized. And we have stuff like social media now, but we are just like them. And I don't understand why we get so much hate because all we do is spread Elvis's legacy, and it's so annoying.
yeah, and I'm 100. I've been saying for years, way before Baz Luhrmann's movie came out. I've been saying for years that we needed to find a way to reach the younger generation and convert them to Elvis, and and this movie did it. This movie was a godsend for Elvis and his legacy. So we're talking about that new fan, the battle that's going on sometimes between new fans and old fans. So do new fans have to love Elvis the way old fans love Elvis, the way people that grew up in the Elvis generation? Is it fair to say you all can love Elvis in a different way because
Yeah.
you're a different generation?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And now, is it safe to say this? Do you think Elvis, the movie, was needed to bring in a young generation of Elvis
100%.
fans? Yeah.
100%. Cuz like I said, I don't think I'd be as big of an Elvis fan as I am if it wasn't for the movie. And I think that Elvis was starting to die out, and people weren't going to Graceland as much and wasn't going to Elvis Week as much until the movie came out.
You just answered my next question. What keeps Elvis alive? Preservation of his legacy, all the historical stuff or participation, getting out there and
Participation.
sharing Elvis and telling people about Elvis and stuff like that. What do you think keeps them alive, or it's a combination of both?
Both really. Obviously all the I mean, posting about him and uh like okay, I can't talk apparently. The stuff that goes on at Elvis Week. We trade bracelets during Elvis Week when they go and I see them planning it, or like this year they did a treasure hunt where they would hide bags of Elvis merch around Memphis and they'd give you hints and you had to go find it,
That's awesome.
and then they'd post it on their story when they found it. It's stuff like that, and uh yeah, stuff like that.
So, is it safe to say that I could almost quote you that you probably wouldn't be here on this podcast today and the diehard Elvis fan that you are without the movie?
No.
Because that the movie did it, was what
Yeah.
made you really go and do a deep dive into Elvis after you saw that movie.
Oh, and this is a hot topic. I don't care. The Elvis tribute artists are a big part of keeping Elvis's legacy alive, whether people like them or not, and think that they're trying to be Elvis. The Elvis festivals, the competitions. I'm not a big fan of the competitions, but the competitions, they keep Elvis alive. People like Cody Dayanath, Dean Z, Emilio, those are my favorites. They
Well,
talk
being that your dad
so highly about Elvis.
being that your dad is was an Elvis tribute artist, I'd agree with that because we've been doing that since the late '70s, early '80s. My generation of Elvis tribute artists, we were called impersonators back then. The word Elvis tribute artist didn't exist, but we were out there. We were working hard. Those few, and those were tough years because a lot of the stuff was just hitting the airways. You had Geraldo Rivera do this whole big primetime broadcast about drug use and all of that kind of stuff, and then the Elvis faking his death thing went absolutely nuts in the early '80s. So us Elvis tribute artists of that generation were out there working our butts off to protect Elvis and his legacy, and now I've passed that torch on to these guys now, and they're doing a great job. They really are.
I mean, even I talked to Cody and he said that he saw a lot more young people come to his shows after the Elvis movie came out in 2022. There was young people all over the place coming to the festivals and to his shows, and I see a lot of younger. I sat next to when I went to see him in Melbourne last month. Um, I was sitting next to two younger girls like my age,
There you go.
and I thought that they had been forced to come there because they were with their mom, but they had Elvis merch on. I was like, okay, yeah.
There you go.
There was a little boy that came up to the stage. He was dressed as Elvis. He was maybe like 4 or 5. It's
Wow.
so cool.
Well, I think it's safe to say, and I'm talking to my generation here. I'm talking to my generation of Elvis fans, and we know a lot of my generation that love the movie. Yeah, Brian and Wally and Dan and a lot of Dan and Trish, and so we're diehards that have been around for many years and listening and supporting Elvis, and we loved the movie. So I'm speaking to my generation when I say this. Elvis will not survive, and this is just truth. Elvis won't, and his legacy won't survive without new people finding out about him, without a new generation carrying the torch. Because let's face it, it's a morbid kind of a thing to say, but the Elvis generation is dying off. A lot of the original Elvis generation are in their 70s, 80s, 90s.
We're seeing a lot of people that Elvis knew have been dying recently,
Yeah,
and it's really sad, and you should see how the younger generation reacts to these deaths. When, Yvonne Lime died the other day,
yeah,
outbreak. When, Jerome Stump, who I barely even knew until I heard about him being at, something in Vegas. I didn't know about him until then, but it was everywhere. Younger people met him and talked about how nice he was. Same with Yvonne. It's just heartbreak every single time.
yeah. And so we need the new Elvis generation to be welcomed into the fold. And so I'm going to go ahead and say this, Abby. Elvis doesn't belong to one generation. He is multi-generational. He lasts forever.
If the movie brought you here, welcome.
And if you've been here for decades, thank you so much for keeping the light on and keeping on persevering for Elvis. Keep on doing that, but please embrace the young fans, because if it's not for the young fans, Elvis won't be carried forward. His legacy won't be carried forward. So we're going to wrap up now.
Yeah.
That was a great episode, and we thank you all for listening. And we want to remind you once again that this is what the EP Fan Zone is all about. What is it about, Elvis? It's a podcast.
Bye.
I mean, wait a minute. I said Elvis. So I called Abby Elvis. That's all right. We're an Elvis podcast. That's all right. So that's what the EP Fan Zone is all about. What is it about, Abby? It's a
A
podcast by, for, and about Elvis fans. And that includes multiple generations from the 1950s all the way through now. We need to come together as one big happy family. I might watch the Baz Luhrmann movie again tonight. I haven't watched it in a while. I love the movie.
I watch it every few weeks, but I never get tired of it, really.
I think I think it was an invaluable gift to the Elvis world. If you disagree, that's fine. That's what life's all about. We can agree to disagree and still be friends in the Elvis world. So, hey, thank you all a lot for listening. My name is Kevin, and
Abby,
we want to wish you all a good night.
bye.